Imagine for a moment that every star twinkling overhead carries a secret message, an inner code that speaks directly to your soul. What if the patterns you see in the night sky aren't just random pinpricks of light, but a living language, waiting for you to learn its grammar and vocabulary? Long ago, our ancestors believed exactly that. They studied the heavens not from afar, but as participants in a vast cosmic conversation. They charted Venus's graceful arc and noted the slow, deliberate progression of Saturn through the zodiac, each movement a syllable, in a grand celestial poem. Over time, these observations became glyphs, symbols carved into clay tablets, etched into temple walls, and whispered in underground sanctums. Yet somewhere between those flickering oil lamps and our modern telescopes, the language was lost. What remains now feels like myth or superstition, dusty stories passed down as curiosities rather than keys to hidden truths. Tonight we reclaim that ancient code. We'll start by awakening the memory of the Babylonian sky watchers, whose glyphs of creation still pulse with significance today. From there we'll unlock the Hermetic principle, as above so below, and reveal how Renaissance thinkers used planetary alignments, not just to predict events, but to engineer profound inner change. You'll also meet a contemporary seeker, an artist whose career took flight when Jupiter transited her natal chart, demonstrating that these aren't relics of a bygone era, but a living blueprint for transformation. Finally, you'll learn practical steps to map your own sun, moon, and rising signs, inviting the sky's guidance into your daily life. But before we dive into clay tablets and star charts, pause and ask yourself, when was the last time you truly listened to the sky? Not as a backdrop of blinking lights, but as a dynamic tapestry humming with meaning. Because beneath the rush of everyday life lies a pattern, an elegant design written in stardust. For those willing to decode it, the promise is nothing less than personal awakening. So take a deep breath, open your mind, allow the echoes of ancient wisdom to stir within you. The threshold awaits. Step across and let the celestial code begin to unfold. Imagine holding a weathered clay tablet, its surface scored with strange looping symbols, each mark a deliberate echo of the stars themselves. Over 4,000 years ago, in the flat plains of ancient Mesopotamia, priests and scholars gathered in moonlit courtyards to chart the sky. They called these tokens cuneiform, but to them, they were more than mere writing. They were the foundational glyphs of creation. These early sky watchers weren't content with mapping constellations for navigation alone. They believed the heavens were an unfolding story, a grand drama whose scenes played out in the lives of kings and commoners alike. When Venus appeared as the morning star, rising in fierce brilliance before dawn, they read it as a harbinger of conflict and ambition. When Saturn lingered near the horizon, its slow crawl a testament to restraint, they sensed an invitation to patience and reflection. One clay tablet, now cracked with age, chronicles a particularly vivid prophecy. During a 2-month span when Jupiter and Mars collided in the sign of Leo, the city of would face upheaval, but also the emergence of a new leader, one who would unite warring factions under a banner of hope. Scholars have since traced that period to a turbulent transition of power around 2000 BCE, suggesting these sky watchers might have read the cosmos more accurately than we once dared imagine. But these glyphs were never meant for the masses. Knowledge was power, and power resides in secrecy. The chief astrologer taught only his most trusted apprentice, speaking in hushed tones beside oil lamps, while ordinary citizens offered grain at temple altars, unaware of the cosmic calculus unfolding above. So over centuries, conquests and regime changes scattered these tablets across flood-soaked ruins. Libraries burned, scrolls turned to ash. And with each loss, a piece of the celestial puzzle slipped into oblivion. Fast forward to the rise of Hellenistic Alexandria, where Egyptian wisdom blended with Greek inquiry. Here a new generation of scholars, translated Babylonian texts into Koine Greek, giving birth to classical astrology. They refined the glyphs, transforming rough wedge shapes into the elegant planetary symbols we recognize today. For the sun, for the moon, for Mars, these glyphs weren't art, they were coded instructions. A single symbol, placed at the intersection of a birth date and geographic coordinates, became a living map of potential. Yet even in Alexandria, astrology faced its detractors. Philosophers like Cicero argued it fostered fatalism, chaining human will to the whim of the stars. Early Christian scholars condemned it as heresy. By the medieval period, astrology had bifurcated. One branch embraced by court magicians and alchemists seeking hidden power, the other dismissed by theologians as dangerous superstition. Despite the push and pull of acceptance and rejection, those glyphs persisted, smuggled into secret grimoires, hidden in the margins of illuminated manuscripts, whispered in the corridors of medieval universities. They survived the Black Death, the Inquisition, and the rise of the scientific method, only to be banished again in the Enlightenment's feverish zeal for empirical proof. And yet beneath that banishment, the glyphs of creation lay dormant, waiting for seekers to unravel them anew. Because these symbols, though ancient, hold an unbroken lineage of insight into cycles, of individuals, of societies, even of nature itself. They remind us that the universe isn't a dead machine, but a living organism, where every planet's orbit is a heartbeat and every retrograde a breath. Today, archaeologists piece together fragments of Babylonian tablets, while scholars of comparative religion uncover parallels between Mayan Venus tables and Mesopotamian records, proof that even across oceans, humanity has tuned itself to the same cosmic rhythms. Meanwhile, astrologers of the modern era pore over digitized archives of Renaissance charts, eager to recover lost techniques for timing events and understanding personality. In this rediscovery lies a promise that the glyphs carved millennia ago aren't quaint relics but active tools, keys to decode the unfolding story of our own lives. When you learn to recognize the shimmering arcs of a planet's path, you're not gazing at scenery, you're reading a script written in starlight. And so, as we move forward, keep this in mind. The glyphs of creation are more than lines on a page. They are living echoes of the first humans, who dared to believe the sky was no distance away but a mirror to their souls. In the next chapter, we'll delve into the philosopher's key, the Hermetic truth as above, so below, and discover how those same glyphs became the foundation for alchemical transformation and spiritual rebirth. Centuries ago, in a dimly lit chamber scented with frankincense and myrrh, a lone figure unfurled a scroll that would change the course of mystical thought. Inscribed upon its weathered surface was a single potent truth. That which is above is like that which is below, and that which is below is like that which is above. This terse proclamation, attributed to the legendary Hermes Trismegistus, wasn't a mere slogan. It was the philosopher's key, a bridge between the dance of the planets and the hidden chambers of the human soul. Imagine that axiom as a mirror. The arching trajectory of Saturn around the zodiac becomes a lesson in discipline within your own life. The fiery rush of Mars tells of personal courage awakening from slumber. Renaissance alchemists like Paracelsus and Agrippa seized on this idea, weaving astrology and alchemy into a single tapestry. They saw each planet not as a cold orb, but as a spirit, a gardener tending the soil of our psyche. Saturn pruned with stern intent, teaching patience. Jupiter scattered seeds of expansion. Venus coaxed blossoms of harmony. In the famous Rosarium Philosophorum, those alchemists sketched the sun and moon as divine lovers, entwined against a backdrop of stars. Every turning of the zodiac was a stage in the great work, the mystical transformation from base metal to spiritual gold. To witness Jupiter conjoin with Saturn wasn't simply to note an astronomical event. It was to feel the pulse of cosmic justice, balancing growth with structure. The planets spoke in symbols, and the philosopher's key gave us the language. By contrast, today's mainstream astrology often flattens these depths. We joke about Mercury retrograde wrecking our Wi-Fi, but the true question lies deeper. What breakdown in our inner dialogue needs attention? When Mercury appears to backtrack, it's as if our own thoughts stumble. An invitation to examine how we communicate with ourselves and others, to rewrite the script of our assumptions. To see how rigorous this art can be, consider the life of Johannes Kepler. Though celebrated as an astronomer, he was also a devoted astrologer. In 1615, when his mother faced a witchcraft trial, Kepler meticulously recalculated her birth chart and the sky's exact positions at the time of her trial. Armed with mathematical precision, he challenged the court's accusations head-on, arguing that no malignant aspect supported their claims. Though he couldn't fully clear her name, his defense elevated astrology from blind divination to a discipline demanding both ethical integrity and exacting skill. But how do we bring these lofty teachings off the page and into our own lives? Close your eyes and picture your birth chart as a round map, each planet poised like a sentinel at its natal station. See Mercury glowing at its position. Now ask yourself, what message is this messenger bringing me today? Perhaps you sense a nudge to revisit an old journal entry, or a spark of curiosity about a conversation you've been avoiding. Trust that first intuitive whisper. It's the pulse of your inner sky speaking. Or imagine your psyche as an ancient garden, each planet a gardener with its own style. Mars strides through, clearing paths aggressively, sometimes upending delicate ideas. Neptune drifts in, scattering seeds of imagination that can bloom into wonder, or wilt into confusion without firm boundaries. When Sun enters Libra, it's as though Venus takes a pruning shears to the tangled thickets of our relationships, asking us to rebalance where we've overgrown. When Pluto returns in harsh square to your natal sun, it's the frost that burns away illusions, leaving only the resilient core of your identity. In that frost you find clarity and the raw material for rebirth. This is the philosopher's key in action, astrology transformed from prediction to transformation. Each transit is no longer a distant event, but a living conversation with yourself, a chance to integrate lessons from above into the ground beneath your feet. And yes, some of those lessons sting. A Neptune transit may dissolve your sense of self to the point of disorientation. A Jupiter-Uranus square might launch you into abrupt freedom that feels like vertigo. Yet within those intense moments lies the greatest catalyst for growth. As you carry this key forward, remember that the sky isn't an indifferent machine, but a living organism. Its orbit's a heartbeat you can learn to feel. Whenever you glance at a chart, your own or the current sky, lean in as if reading a letter from an old friend. Ask what part of your inner world wants transformation, what seed needs watering, what root demands trimming. In our next chapter, we'll step into the living blueprint, meeting a modern artist who rode the wild currents of her Pluto return and emerged with a body of work so profoundly authentic, it redefined her destiny. Her journey will show you how the philosopher's key doesn't reside in dusty tomes, but pulses at the very center of human experience, ready to guide anyone brave enough to turn it. Let me take you back to the night Maya's world changed forever. The sky was clear over Brooklyn, but inside her studio something far more elemental was stirring. Pluto, the planet of deep transformation, had returned to the exact spot it occupied at her birth, a once-in-a-lifetime event. That promises profound upheaval. Maya didn't feel any grand cosmic hand guiding her. She felt panic. Earlier that week, she'd been riding high. Her abstract canvases of luminous swirls and bold color had earned her a devoted following. Galleries clamored for her work, and every new piece seemed to sparkle with effortless brilliance. Yet behind the acclaim lay an unspoken question. Was this really her truth, or just a clever performance for an eager market. Then, in the early hours of a Thursday, flames licked the edges of her latest series. By dawn, charred canvases lay like scorched secrets across the floor. Insurers would cover the cost, but the real devastation was inside her. As she sifted through blackened fragments, Maya realized that her art had become an echo of safety, a pattern she repeated because it sold, not because it burned from her core. In the aftermath, she found herself drawn to old journals she'd long abandoned. They were filled with half-formed ideas, sketches of human faces emerging from smoke, notes about dreams where rivers ran backward, sentences she'd never dared to share. Picking through those pages felt like excavating buried chambers of her psyche. She began to see that Pluto's return was less a disaster and more an invitation to dismantle her creative persona. Piece by piece, she let the fire's ash mingle with her paint. Instead of starting with a blank canvas she tore, she ripped apart her safest compositions, layering those torn fragments onto fresh boards. In their place she poured in diary entries, lines of her own handwriting smudged and half illegible. The effect was raw, unfiltered. Charcoal black crevices threaded with streaks of blood red and molten gold. Each piece felt like a wound, laid open but alive with electric charge. As the months passed, Maya's studio transformed into a kind of laboratory. There were no neat palettes or pristine brushes. She worked with her hands, scraping away layers until hidden structures revealed themselves. Sometimes she painted under red light to simulate dusk. Other times she played recordings of wind through trees, letting the sound guide her strokes. She was learning what the ancients knew, that transformation isn't a straight path but a spiral, circling each layer of the self until every hidden chamber is illuminated. In quiet moments, Maya would hold each finished piece at arm's length and feel it speak to her. One work, a towering canvas she called Phoenix Spiral, featured a vortex of ash and gold, as though something had burned itself into shape. When she looked at it, she didn't see tragedy. She saw emergence. She saw herself, forged anew from the very fire that almost destroyed her. The ordeal taught Maya that every planetary transit carries its own pressure and promise. Pluto's mission is to excavate, to bring buried material to the surface no matter how uncomfortable. By surrendering to that process, rather than resisting it, she accessed depths of creativity she never knew existed. And while her story is dramatic, the same principle applies to anyone paying attention. A Saturn transit might demand you face responsibilities you've been avoiding. A Neptune influence can dissolve barriers between you and your dreams, for better or worse. The key is not to fear these cosmic invitations, but to treat them as guides through the labyrinth of your own becoming. Critics who saw Maya's Ash and Afterglow series described it as her most authentic work. At the gallery opening, viewers stood in hushed circles, tracing the lines of burnt paper and gold leaf. Some wept, others stared as if recognizing something long hidden in themselves. Maya spoke softly that evening. "This isn't a display of my pain. It's proof that when you let the fire have its way, you discover the light at your center." Her words captured the essence of what I call the living blueprint, the idea that the sky's movements are not distant curiosities, but instructions for our inner alchemy. Each transit, each aspect, is an invitation to a ritual of self-discovery. You don't need to be an artist in a loft to tap into this. You need only curiosity, bravery, and the willingness to watch your old patterns catch fire so you can step into something truer. Maya's journey reminds us that astrology isn't about predicting events. It's about partnering with the cosmos. When you chart your own transits, watching how Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, or Venus move through your natal map, you're learning to read the language of your own growth. You learn to see every challenge as a co-creative dance with the heavens, where resistance is an opportunity and surrender is a gift. Now, as you reflect on your own chart, imagine where your personal Pluto might be returning, or where Saturn is testing your resolve. Picture how you might integrate its lesson by dissolving worn-out patterns. then recombining those shards into something new. This is the living blueprint in action. The sky's codes engraved in your life, waiting for you to unlock their alchemy. When you're ready, we'll move next into decoding your own cosmic signature, finding the unique glyphs of your sun, moon, and rising signs and learning simple rituals to bring those codes into everyday magic. But for now, let Maya's story linger. Proof that when you let the cosmic fire refine you, you emerge not only intact but illuminated from within. Imagine standing beneath the night sky, the full moon's pale glow washing over you as you unfold a well-worn parchment, your birth chart. The circle, divided into 12 segments, is more than a diagram. It's a map, a living blueprint of your soul's unique architecture. At its heart are three luminaries, your sun, moon, and rising signs. Together they form the cosmic signature that whispers your core identity, your emotional world, and the mask you wear as you move through life. Begin with your sun sign, the spark in the constellation that marked your birth moment. This isn't just a zodiac label, it's the anthem of your purpose, the thread that runs through every triumph and trial. Picture your sun as a torchbearer, its flame casting light on your passions and ambitions. If your sun rests in fiery Aries, you might feel an irrepressible urge to pioneer new paths, to charge headlong into challenges. If it sits in patient Taurus, you may gravitate toward building something lasting, whether a career, a relationship, or a sanctuary for the senses. Wherever your sun shines, it calls you to step into authenticity. But the chart's story deepens when you wander to the moon's domain. Here in the silvery realm of lunar light, you find your emotional tides. The moon's placement reveals how you need to feel safe, loved, and nourished. Imagine it as a mirror reflecting the hidden currents of your heart, sometimes calm and reflective, like a pool at dawn, other times rushing and restless like waves in a storm. A Cancer moon, for instance, might crave the familiar warmth of home and family, retreating to inner sanctuaries when life grows harsh. A Sagittarius moon might stir with wanderlust, seeking emotional fulfillment through adventure and truth-seeking. The moon whispers the secret rhythms of your inner world, inviting you to honor its fluctuations rather than fight them. And then there's your rising sign, the mask you present to the world, the lens through which others first perceive you. It's the dawn of your chart, the horizon point where the zodiac climbs into view. Envision it as the tuning fork that colors every greeting, every handshake, every first impression. A Libra rising dances into rooms with grace and charm, smoothing over discord and seeking harmony. A Scorpio rising, by contrast, arrives with an intensity that both intrigues and intimidates, as if the veil between you and those around you is thinner than usual. Your rising sign sets the stage for how you engage with life's drama, not who you are at the core, but how you choose to navigate the opening act. Once you've located these three guiding lights, turn your gaze to the planets that rule them. Your sun's ruler, the planet that ancient astrologers associated with your sign, holds keys to deeper understanding. If your sun is in Leo, for example, its ruler is the sun itself, doubling down on themes of self-expression, leadership, and creativity. If your sun is in Aquarius, its ruler is Uranus, energizing your chart with impulses toward innovation and rebellion. The same applies to your moon and rising rulers. Mapping these connections weaves a silken thread through your chart, linking your core self to the currents of the wider cosmos. Now imagine the sky in motion, the planets tracing their eternal paths across your natal blueprint. Each transit brings a spotlight to certain areas of your life. When Jupiter, the planet of expansion, sweeps through your sun sign, you might find your confidence swelling, your resources multiplying, doors opening that once seemed sealed. When Saturn, the stern teacher, makes contact with your moon, you could feel emotional responsibilities weighing on you, but also the potential for profound maturity and resilience. These transits aren't distant phenomena. They're invitations to dance with the cosmos, to learn its steps and rhythms. To bring this cosmic language into your everyday world, try this. On a clear evening, chart the current positions of the Sun, Moon, and a significant transit, perhaps where Saturn sits today. Hold your birth chart under that same sky, aligning the two circles in your mind's eye. Notice where the live planets touch your natal placements. Then close your eyes and breathe. Ask yourself what area of your life feels activated. Is a relationship demanding structure? Is your creativity ready to expand? Do you feel called to let go of old patterns? Resist the urge to seek a quick answer. Instead, linger in the question. In the days that follow, carry a small notebook or open a note on your phone. Jot down moments when the themes you sensed under the stars play out in ordinary life. A conversation that seems charged with Saturnian gravity. A burst of inspiration that feels unmistakably Jupiterian. Over time, these observations weave together a tapestry of meaning. You'll begin to recognize patterns, how a transit through your moon's house triggers emotional waves, or how Mercury's current dance nudges you toward important conversations or decisions. This is the essence of decoding your cosmic signature, transforming abstract symbols into tangible experiences. You shift from being a passive observer, watching horoscopes and waiting for fate, to becoming an active participant, co-authoring your story with the universe. Each day becomes an experiment, each transit a collaborator in your personal alchemy. As you grow more fluent in this language, you'll find that astrology is not a strict script, but a living conversation. The sky won't dictate your path, but it will illuminate crossroads and reveal hidden doors. Embrace the lessons it offers with curiosity rather than fear. Ask how a decadent Venus transit might refine your relationships, or how a challenging Mars aspect could awaken dormant courage. In doing so, you forge an alliance with the heavens, an ever-unfolding partnership that honors both destiny and free will. When you're ready to take this practice still deeper, we'll move into our final chapter, Awakening the Stargazer Within. There we'll weave these insights into a reflective closing that inspires ongoing exploration and invites your audience to engage with their own cosmic journey. By now you've glimpsed how the heavens trace the contours of your inner world. You've journeyed with Maya as flames reshaped her art, and you've learned to read your sun, moon, and rising signs like guiding lights on a midnight voyage. But all this knowledge is only as powerful as the quiet moments when you pause and listen to the sky's gentle hum. Picture yourself once again beneath a velvet dome, this time without charts or tools, just you and the vast expanse above. Feel how the air holds its breath between each star, as if waiting for you to speak. This is the moment the stargazer within stirs, awakening your natural impulse to wonder, to question, to dream beyond the edges of the everyday. You might notice that your mind, once busy with to-do lists and deadlines, begins to settle into a different rhythm. Thoughts soften, and you become present to the intricate dance of light overhead. In that silence, the cosmos feels less like a distant spectacle and more like an intimate confidant. You realize that each twinkle carries an echo of your own story, your struggles, your hopes, your hidden longings. This awakening isn't an overnight transformation. It's a slow unfolding, like dawn brushing its first pink strokes across the horizon. Some nights you'll be perfectly aligned with the stars' messages, feeling clear and inspired. Other nights, the sky's patterns will feel tangled, reflecting the uncertainty and chaos of your life. Both are part of the conversation. The stargazer's practice is to embrace every response, light or shadow, as a clue on your path. As you deepen this communion, your bedroom ceiling becomes a secret observatory, and a simple glance out the window invites a moment of reflection. You begin to notice synchronistic moments, a friend entering your life just as Saturn challenges your sense of structure, or a song on the radio that echoes Jupiter's call for expansion. These seemingly random events are the cosmos tipping its hat, reminding you that you belong to something larger than yourself. And with that realization comes freedom. You no longer need to fit into life's cramped formulas or chase someone else's blueprint for success. The sky offers a template, but you color it with your own experience. If Mercury stirs your curiosity, you might pick up a book you've been avoiding. If Venus lights up your chart, you might reach out to someone you've held at arm's length. Over time, small actions become a tapestry of co-creation with the universe, a living dialogue that reshapes your sense of possibility. Now imagine sharing this wonder with others. Invite friends to look up with you, to describe the shapes they see, to wonder aloud what might lie beyond each constellation. Encourage them not to dismiss astrology as mere superstition, but to treat it as a poetic language that speaks to our deepest yearnings. Because at the end of the day, awakening the stargazer within isn't about predicting the future or hiding behind cosmic excuses. It's about reclaiming your birthright as a child of the stars, someone born from the same stardust that lights the night sky. It's an invitation to live with curiosity, to honor the rhythms that flow through all living things, and to remember that your life story is written not only on paper, but also in the silent spaces between the stars. So tonight, step outside, tilt your face upward, let the hush of the cosmos fill you, and listen for the whisper that has been waiting in your bones all along. The call to awaken, to explore, and to become the stargazer you were always meant to be.